The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference. FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today. The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former Mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's. WESN 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook. Metropolitan Bookshop, Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia is responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of have to stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, or the man is being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this is screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not
game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Coming soon to WESN.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'll ask is why.
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say, we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren. Coming soon to WESN.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
WESN.
Hello there, welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Well, my first conversation focuses on our energy industry, specifically our gas processing industry. Now, I don't have to go into the entire history of it, but since the 1990s, Trinidad and Tobago has been one of the top LNG producers in the world. In fact, we have one of the largest processing plants in the Western Hemisphere. LNG is so important to us that it actually accounts for 45% of our GDP, approximately. But unfortunately, due to a lack of investment in the upstream sector since about 2014, we have seen natural gas production decline. Then comes the Dragon gas field and the Dragon gas deal, more specifically as it relates to last year. Well, everything seemed heading in a great direction, but there has been a bit of a stumbling block, and that is U.S. sanctions on Venezuela. Now, though the Minister of Energy and Energy Industry, Stuart Young, has indicated that such sanctions will not impact upon Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister has acknowledged that we are not immune to geopolitical tensions. That being said, there are some concerns expressed, and we'll get into that right now as I welcome my very first guest. He's Principal Energy Consultant, Mr. Kevin Ramnarai. Good morning, sir. Welcome to AM Prime.
Hi, good morning. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you, sir.
All right. That's a very young photograph of me you have there. Well, good morning, and thanks for having me on the program. Always glad to be here, and quite a lot always happening in the energy sector and in the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. But so the Prime Minister did say that we are not immune from the geopolitical tensions that engage Venezuela. And I don't know how long we have, but about 10, 15 minutes, you think?
No, go ahead, Mr. Ramnarai. I think it's very important we have this conversation.
One could speak for the whole day on these things, right? But Venezuela has been in decline since the early 2000s. And that decline, of course, was exacerbated around the time the sanctions started to be applied to Venezuela. And the sanctions didn't start with President Trump. The sanctions actually started under the Obama administration. President Trump just accelerated the sanctions. And then when President Biden came in, there was this view that American foreign policy would suddenly flip backwards and Venezuela the sanctions would be relieved. And to some extent that did happen last year, October. There was what they call the Barbados Agreement, which was facilitated by Norway, the Norwegian government. And that agreement was an agreement by the US to lift the sanctions on the Venezuelan oil and gas industry, dependent on Venezuela moving towards free and fair elections in 2024. Here we are. So that never happened. The main candidate for the election in Venezuela, Ms. Machado, she was banned from running for election by the Venezuelan court. And the Venezuelan courts are known to be stacked with persons appointed by the current government. And then the opposition tried to put another candidate, a lady who is an 80-year-old professor. Her name always escapes me. And she too could not register to be a candidate and so on. So predictably, you don't make a commitment like that to the United States and then not fulfill your part of the bargain. So predictably, last week, the United States reimposed the sanctions. As I have pointed out, as the government of Trinidad and Tobago has pointed out, the reimposition of the sanctions don't directly impact the Dragon deal, because the Dragon deal operates under what they call a specific OFAC license. The OFAC is an arm of the United States Treasury Department that deals with things like these sanctions and so on. So the Dragon deal is not directly affected, but the point I make is that, given that the sanctions are back on the wider Venezuelan oil and gas industry, it is going to be more difficult to execute projects in Venezuela, even if you have some sort of carve-out license like what Dragon has. On top of that, that OFAC license, that specific OFAC license, the license which is specific to Dragon, is only for 2 years. And on that 2 years, about 7 months have gone already. 7 or 6 months have gone already. So that license expires in 2025, October. And reports by Reuters are that Shell is looking for a 15-year license, because who makes an investment of hundreds of millions of US dollars, possibly over $1 billion US dollars, with a 2-year license underpinning the project? So the likelihood of the Dragon gas coming to Trinidad and Tobago has been affected by these sanctions, regardless of whether they're directly affected or indirectly affected. No one can say when that gas will come to Trinidad. No one could say with certainty when that gas will come to Trinidad. So we don't know, right? Shell can't say, I can't say, the government can't say, no one can say. So in that situation of uncertainty, we can't depend, we can't, hang our coat on the Dragon deal. If it happens, well, that's good, but no one can say when it will happen. At the same time, we have a continuing burning problem here in Trinidad of natural gas shortage, which is currently bad. It's going to get worse in the coming years. In the years 2024, 25, 26, 27, it's going to get worse. And I don't think people fully appreciate what that means and how impactful that is going to be on the ability of this country to earn money. I hear people talk all the time about things that they would like to do and projects and things they would like to do for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, but everything requires money. Everything. And that's what I think a lot of people don't get when they talk, a lot of economists, when they talk about all the economic theories and all the real and nominal GDP and so on, at the end of the day, it comes down to, Mr. Shah, it comes down to money, the ability and the capacity of the country to earn money on a sustainable basis. And our ability to earn the dollar or the US dollar has always been the energy sector. Oil production is now under 50,000 barrels per day. That was the average oil production for the first half of this year. That is the lowest oil production since the 1930s. Gas production is at a 20-year low. So, yes, so Dragon is important. And so too, there's another field that the Minister of Energy is pursuing with BP and Venezuela called the Coquina Mannequin field. So that's a cross-border field. And we must differentiate between what is cross-border, which is Coquina Mannequin, and Loran Manatee is also cross-border, and what is across the border, which is Dragon. So Dragon is totally in Venezuela's waters. And Loran Manatee and Coquina Mannequin and a third field called Cape Dorado, they straddle the maritime boundary. Right? They straddle the maritime boundary. So that is being pursued. There's another project which is being pursued. But these things, of course, take time. I mean, we've been pursuing Loran Manatee since the early 2000s, 1990s, around there. And the other thing is that there's what I call the Venezuela question in CARICOM. Venezuela has always been a source of concern for politicians in the region. And if you go back as far as the 1970s, the early to mid 1970s, Dr. Eric Williams was giving a series of statements and speeches alerting Trinidad and Tobago and CARICOM to the threat that Venezuela posed to the region. And specifically, he was citing examples of claims that were being made, territorial claims that were being made by Venezuela, the most famous of which is the Essequibo claim. But there were other claims. The Essequibo is but one. There was a claim to an island called Bird Island, which I believe is shared with Antigua or something like that. So Eric Williams, being the historian that he was, understood the history of the region, understood the evolution of the Spanish Empire in the region, and how the evolution of the Spanish Empire in the region in the 17th and the 18th and 19th centuries came up against the incursion of the British Empire in the region. He understood what was the Captaincy General of Caracas, which was the administrative headquarters of the northern part of the Spanish Empire in South America. And he understood that the Essequibo was at one point in time, part of that Captaincy General, and so too was Trinidad. And he warned CARICOM in the early 1970s. That warning seems to have been lost on the current government. Although Eric Williams is the founding father of the PNM and first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago.
Mr. Amaran, if I can just interject for a moment, because looking at the Dragon gas deal in itself, and you've spoken a lot about the geopolitical tensions, because you've seen the sanctions on Venezuela once more being imposed by the United States. But it's most intriguing that we see the European Union. In fact, EU Ambassador to TNT, Peter Cavendish, has signaled the group's willingness to support the project. Hungary's Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I don't know who he speaks for. He speaks for the EU. The EU to me is, really. I mean, he could say anything. Anything. He could say anything. What is the position of the European Union right now? The European Union had made itself completely or totally dependent on Russian gas. And then the Ukraine war came. And the flow of Russian gas to the European Union began to decrease. But is Dragon going to save Europe? I hear that talk, I heard coming across, it being put across by people in Trinidad as though the Dragon project, which supplies 350 million cubic feet of natural gas to Trinidad and Tobago, which is about 10 or 12, whatever that might be 8 or 9% or something like that of our natural gas production. Is that going to save Europe? I mean, I really find that, and when is it going to save Europe? When is Dragon gas going to get across to Europe as liquefied natural gas? So these are all diplomats just talking, and that's just talk. Where's the gas? And Europe right now, had it not been for the United States capacity to export gas, and the US is either the first or the second largest exporter of LNG in the world, it was American LNG that had to find its way to Europe when that gas from Russia started to decline. That supply from Russia started to decline. So yes, if some Dragon gas gets to the European continent in the year 2032, that's good, that's great. But when, and these things are put across like, look, Europe's supporting me, but Europe wants this gas. But the European continent has solved its problem very quickly. Germany, which was the largest importer of gas from Russia, Germany has moved very quickly. And I don't have to tell you, Mr. Shah, how innovative and resilient the German people are. Germany moved very quickly from being an importer of natural gas from Russia via pipeline to being an importer of natural gas from the United States via LNG. Some of our LNG, and I'm very proud to say this as a Trinidadian, some of our LNG is making its way to Lithuania. And if you permit me, I'll give you a little story about that.
Go ahead.
Lithuania is one of the Baltic states, meaning that it's one of those small states in the Baltic Sea. And Lithuania, of course, used to import natural gas from Russia via pipeline. Lithuania, when I was minister, I spoke to the Lithuanian ambassador in Washington, and he told us that they wanted to import gas from Trinidad. And of course, at that point in time, it wasn't possible. But now, our cargoes of LNG are going to Lithuania, allowing Lithuania to diversify its energy diet and to move itself away from the total dependency on Gazprom, which is the Russian gas giant. So if that happens, if Dragon gas finds its way to Europe, that's good. That is not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next year. It probably is going to happen, if it does happen, towards the end of the decade, or maybe in the early 2030s and so on. But we shouldn't be putting out these ideas and these expectations that Dragon gas is going to save the European continent, because the European continent, the capacity of the United States to export natural gas far exceeds anything that we could ever have here in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, the United States is a continental landmass with tremendous resources and technology. So that is the European question.
Mr. Reverend, if I may ask you as well, I know that I'm not saying this is the end of the Dragon gas deal or the end of our...
No, I don't think it's the end. I think it's something...
But do you think that at this point in time, it's simply too unstable to conduct business with Venezuela?
I think so. I think that is a very That is very much the assessment. There are too many moving parts, and these moving parts are unpredictable. One moving part is the election in July in Venezuela. No one knows the outcome of that election because from what I'm reading, the opposition has been able to register a candidate. This gentleman is a former ambassador. He's very low profile. Nobody knows who he is, but at least the opposition is looking like they will be allowed to register a candidate. So you don't know what's going to happen in July. The expectation is that Maduro will win. Then there's the election in the United States in November. And again, no one knows the outcome of that election. It's literally a coin toss between President Biden and former President Trump. No one knows. So those are two political variables that could swing either way. We know what happened to the sanctions. The sanctions came back, right? Then there's the specific OFAC license for Dragon. We don't know if the U.S. government will renew that or give Shell a 15-year license in when it expires in 2025. We don't know. Another uncertainty. And then there is Shell themselves. Shell, of course, is a company with a fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders, like all major companies. And they will ultimately have to put the money, they'd have to dip their hands in their pocket and find the money. NGC is also involved, but to a lesser extent, but Shell is really the main driver of this project. Even with sanctions removed, even with all sanctions removed, and Venezuela, without sanctions, it still is very difficult to do business in Venezuela, in the oil and gas industry, given the level of decline that sector has suffered in the last 10, 15 years. So should Trinidad and Tobago continue to pursue the Dragon project? Yes. Continue to pursue it. Should Trinidad and Tobago pursue the Coquina Mannequin project? Yes, I think so. In fact, I think that project has a better likelihood of success than Dragon. But at the end of the day, we have to think about the resources that we have remaining in the ground. And we do have resources in the ground. The Petroleum Economist map came out yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. There was quite a lot of PR around that map, and I congratulate the NGC this morning for that map. They also came out with a green energy map of Trinidad and Tobago, and again, kudos to the NGC. The Petroleum Economist map for 2013 is out. It's available on the NGC website. And it shows the resources of Trinidad and Tobago in the deep water. I think it's the first time they're actually showing the deep water reservoirs on the map. So we have gas in deep water, and we have to make that work. We have remaining resources of natural gas in the east coast, off the east coast, and we have to make that work. There is also, there's also touchstone on land, and that's small, but it's promising, right? So we have to look at the resource base that we have available to us and really incentivize companies to explore aggressively. And even if that were to happen, then that still takes years before you realize production. So we are really in a challenging situation in terms of our economy. Which is really underpinned by the oil and gas sector. We have foreign reserves now at the foreign reserves are now $5.4 billion US.
As compared to about 11 billion in 2014.
It was the peak foreign reserves were 11.4 something like that in December 2014.
Yeah.
So our foreign reserves have come down by more than 50% in the last 10 years. If you and I have this conversation in 12 months, that 5.4 billion that we just spoke about, which is the March 2024 figure, would probably be around 4.4 billion US dollars, right? The slide of the foreign reserves of Trinidad and Tobago seems to be heading continually in one direction. So the question is, what happens when it reaches zero? Because foreign exchange is the sine qua non, to use some Latin, or the lifeblood of Trinidad and Tobago. It's everything. all your pharmaceuticals, all your food and your groceries and so on are purchased with foreign exchange. So when foreign exchange starts to dry up, then you have the question of devaluation. And then you also have, well, the Minister of Finance might say, well, we have the HSF. And the HSF is 5.6, 5.7, 5.8 or whatever it is billion. And my pushback on the Minister of Finance would be, well, that was not the intention of the HSF. The intention of the HSF, as you know, was intergenerational transfer of wealth and stabilization of the budget of government revenue in times of, you know, low oil prices, low gas prices. So
Mr. Ramran,
it was never the intention to prop up the foreign exchange, the exchange rate with the HSF. So we are in a very ticklish may be the wrong word. We are in a very difficult situation, which I think is going unnoticed largely by the population.
Mr. Ramran, we're going to have to actually pause it this. I'm not going to say end it, I'll say pause, because as you mentioned, there's a lot more to unpack in this conversation. But for the time being, sir, thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you very much, Itan, and all the best to you.
Thank you, sir. All the best. Take care. Mr. Kevin Ramran, Principal Energy Consultant, joining me on AM Prime this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I said that is the pause to that particular conversation. There is a lot more to get into indeed, but we thank Mr. Ramran for starting the conversation, and we look forward to the next contribution, which we hope will be very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break here on AM Prime. When we return, we'll get into some more conversations. We'll be right back.
Imagine a world where arguments don't exist. CICR is a full-service conflict resolution company that offers mediation training and workshops for all. In 2024, our 40-hour workshops are back, giving you all the tools you need to become a certified mediator in Trinidad and Tobago. Want to know more? Call us at 768-6778 or visit our website. Let's work together to make the world a better place.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital.
How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
let's
closer.
go to the last part.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
You don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we're different criminals and we manipulated the law and we're exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward and our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. I mean, and Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Welcome back to Amplia, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us this morning. The Trinidad premiere of Queen of the Road, the Calypso Rose musical, actually begins on May 10th with a gala at the Central Bank Auditorium, and that starts from 7:30 p.m. But there will be other shows held on May 11th and 12th at 6:30 p.m. according to one media release. Now, this event is being held under the patronage of Her Excellency President Christine Kangaloo, as we look at the life and the legacy of the legendary Calypso Rose. This morning, I'm joined by two ladies in studio, lucky me. First of all, I'm joined by Vocal Director of Queen of the Road, Miss Alicia Jagasar. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
To all the listeners and viewers.
You look, on this gloomy morning, a bit bright in the red.
Oh yes, needed to bring out a little red, you know.
Hello, Miss Henry, Miss Michelle Henry. She's the musical director.
Good morning. Good morning.
And you're supposed to bring the music with you.
Yes.
Ladies, Calypso Rose, a legend for decades, has graced the world with her talent. There is so much accolades associated with Calypso Rose. Miss Henry, I'm going to start with you as musical director. How do you promise to give the audience the Calypso Rose experience, given all the accolades?
Listen, as a fellow Calypsonian musician, it really is an honor to be able to do this. And through the process of listening to some of the works that Calypso Rose has done, she has a vast, I would say, a vault of music. And some of the songs was the first time I actually heard them. And there are so many different sides of Rose that you're going to hear in this play. You know, she has that witty side, the side where she advocates for women's rights. Then we know the ever popular Tempo and Fire Fire. All of these songs I have taken, try to minimize it based on the instrumentation of the band, but to still bring out the essence from when it was done and also put a little drizzling on it for the production itself.
Well, over 1,000 songs, over 20 albums on the part of Calypso Rose. How do you even decide what is the essence of Calypso Rose?
Exactly. But she's a phenomenal person, and it's an honor to actually be able to put the music into the musical and see how it flows seamlessly through with everything that is done in the play itself.
Now, in terms of as being the vocal director of Charlie, so it's not a very easy job at all. As with Miss Henry, you have to navigate through a lot. And how has that been thus far? We're weeks away, we're about 2 weeks away, but all looking good on your end.
Well, it is. When you listen to Rose, as Michelle was saying, her work, to get the music to sound, because as individuals we have our own style. You know, this is how I sing and this is how I sing. But here we are doing a Calypso Rose's musical, so you really want it to come out like Calypso Rose as much as possible, and maintain that integrity of her music. And the beautiful thing is that I'm allowed to put a little licensing here as a vocal director, little arrangements here, so that definitely you will be hearing, yes, you would know that this is a Calypso Rose song, but you will get a little frills here and there, a little different type of harmonizations.
You just said something which clicked, and maintain the integrity of her music. How do you go about actually doing that?
Well, one, all the intonations, her phrasings, that when you listen to her recording, you must be able to mimic that. So it's not about I sing like this and I want to, this is how I interpret Calypso Rose's. No, you have to, it must be how Calypso Rose interprets Calypso Rose's music. And then the playwright and director, Roma Spencer, who did extensive research and interviews with Calypso Rose to come up with choosing these particular songs for this production. That was another process. So it's very important that the songs that she chose, we are able to execute those songs to bring out the essence of what she's trying to say in terms of the Calypso Rose's story. Yeah. So it's just a matter of immersing yourself in her music and getting her mannerisms and her, yeah.
Well, Miss Henry, Calypso Rose has been writing songs since the age of 11. And as you just mentioned, you've had to do a lot of research. In doing a lot of research, what have you learned about Calypso Rose? What have you discovered about Calypso Rose?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because I would have had previous conversations with her sometimes, just talking to her about where she came from. I know she's from Tobago, and, you know, getting a little bit of the inside. So reading, you know, when we're doing this, we need to really immerse ourselves into the musical itself, the script, to understand exactly what we need to do. So from reading this, you know, a lot of things that I spoke to her about is like, I laugh because I'm actually seeing it in words in this in-depth research that Roma would have done. And it's just amazing that for somebody at that age, and even now, you know, seeing her perform certain songs, she
still has it, huh?
Very much so. She is just, she's awesome. She's an awesome individual in terms of what she brings, what is projected, and you realize that it is truly from inside everything comes from. It's not a gimmick, it's not a made-up thing. It is, everything encompasses her wholly as an individual, from the beginning to even now. And I don't think that even sometimes it's kind of overwhelming when you think of the amount of things that this lady has done. You know, Stacey Sobers, who plays Calypso Rose in the musical, I honestly, the first time I saw little clippings from when they would have done it in Toronto, Stacey doesn't encompass Rose. It's almost like you're watching Rose you're actually watching Calypso Rose herself, you know. And for me, that even shows how much work Stacey did to really get into that character. So, you know, I think that doing this is something that this is amazing for us as Trinidad and Tobago to be doing for an icon as her, because she deserves this and so much more. And this is like history in a package that I don't think is going to die, because we could learn so much from it in different parts of it.
Ms. Jagger says packaging history in this format and presenting it to the public. Is that something that you want to see being done more often?
Oh,
in this particular format we're speaking of?
Definitely, because my thing is children, and it's very important that the youths know our history. And these icons who would have paved the way for many of them, even junior Calypsonians, there are a lot of junior Calypsonians, but generally the youth of our nation, they need to have this information. So packaging this, because we were saying to ourselves that, you know, hey, you know, we should have some school shows and bring the students out to see this musical, because some of these schools have calypso, vintage calypsos, and they would do calypsos on Calypso Rose. But who is Calypso Rose to them, other than fire, 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 or tempo, right? So having productions such as these, they are so very important, because we have young Carty, which is the young Calypso Rose. She goes to Newtown Girls. So there we have that, the young ones being exposed, but it's just one out of many that we are hoping to touch the lives of so many other youths, packaging productions such as these.
Now, as I said, I've read quite a bit about it. What you all have done brilliantly, though, is that you haven't given away too much. Yeah, you haven't given away too much. And you know what, honestly, that's a good thing. So I'm going to put you all on the spot this morning. If anybody wants to give us a hint as per this storyline. We get it's a bit of a biography, but in terms of the actual storyline, what can we expect? Anybody wants to answer that this morning?
Well, the story is Calypso Rose. And you know, and to really appreciate it, you know, you need to come to the show, because it's from, as Michelle said earlier, it's a capsule from then to now, when she was younger, you know, to now that she's an adult, you know. So we want you to come. We don't want to just, you know, tell you, you know, this is what you're going to hear or this is what you're going to do. We want you to come and experience.
One thing I would say though, as she said, we wanted to come and experience, because even though it's a musical on Calypso Rose and her journey through Calypso, there are also other things that you could take from it, as in she's a Tobagonian, born in Tobago, grew up in Trinidad, and where she moved from there. So it's also a story on breaking barriers and doing so many different things. So there's a lot of stuff that you could learn from it. You know, everybody, you know, when we watch things, we put ourselves into situations and we take what we would need. So I think that from the smallest child to the eldest person should try to come to this musical and see it.
Well, my final question for both of you, I'll start with you, Miss Henry. As musicians, as female musicians in Trinidad and Tobago, what does Calypso Rose mean to you? Who is she to you?
Listen, Calypso Rose, for me, as I said, I'm a musician and a Calypsonian, so a lot of my inspiration and certain things that I would have taken would have been from her being one of the first female Calypsonians to break through a lot of barriers for female Calypsonians in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes? Calypso Rose is an icon. She is someone that I think today you will get one thing, tomorrow you will take something else that you could use in your life. That's how I see it. That's a package. We have a real treasure there.
It's amazing how she can diversify herself,
yes,
even within the music industry. Ms. Jagger.
Well, Calypso Rose, I can tell you, I mean, I one of those who would have grown up listening to her, watching her, not really knowing her story, her entire story. You know, you will see someone, right, and you would hear here and there of the struggles. But immersing myself in her story has certainly opened my eyes to so many things. And as Michelle was saying, when you come to the show, you're getting a bit of history that a lot of people they probably never even heard of, you know. And for me, when I look at Calypso Rose and look at her struggle, and even now at her present age, and she's continuing to clear pathways for women in society, it has certainly given me that encouragement to continue to go on as a musician and as a performer, as a woman.
Well, hopefully one day we'll have the Alicia Jugs and Michelle. Yes. Ladies, I thank you so very much for joining me so early on a morning. I know, I know the rainy weather could...
But we really want to encourage Trinidad and Tobago to come out. Come out on the day. Bring out your mother. It's a Mother's Day weekend. Yes. And I think the mothers are going to enjoy that. You know, bring out the daughters, bring out your moms. They're actually taking Calypso Rose's musical.
Where can people purchase tickets?
Well, we do have tickets at Crossbeats in St. James. We also have Kenny's at Queen Street, Twin City Mall, West Mall, Disco Mart, Tunapuna, Michelle's in Arima, Extra Foods, Endeavour, Grand Bazaar, and Ateliers by the park in San Fernando. We also have islandetickets.com. You can go and get tickets there also. So you can rush to tickets going fast.
For the gala, which is on Friday, the tickets cost $500. Yeah. And for the other 2 nights, they are $300.
Yeah. Excellent. Tickets are available all across TNT and online, so I don't know what your excuse is. But anyway, ladies, I thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having us.
And all the very best from May 10th. We look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, we take a break here on AM Prime. We'll return shortly.
Here is the WESN News on the Hour. I am Sarah Ali. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Unhealthy air quality reported in Trinidad and Tobago. Dust levels remain high. 7 division officers arrest 1, seize 2 guns. And internationally, Kenya is set to ban the use of plastic bags. Now for the details. Peak concentrations of pollutants were observed at 8 a.m. today in Tobago and between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. across Trinidad. Reports indicate unhealthy air quality in Toco and Bitam, Port of Spain, while areas including Arima, Point Lisas, Mayara, and San Fernando are experiencing air quality levels deemed unhealthy for sensitive groups. Visibility at Piaco stands at 6 kilometers, while in Crown Point, Tobago, it reaches 8 kilometers. Fluctuating but predominantly high levels of dust are anticipated to persist through Thursday into Friday. 1 man was arrested and 2 firearms and quantities of ammunition seized during weekend anti-crime exercises. In the Southern Division Task Force, officers acting on information proceeded to Flower Pot Beach, Point-a-Pear, around 8:10 a.m. on Sunday, 21st April. Where they searched a male suspect. The search resulted in 1 revolver loaded with 4 rounds of ammunition being found in the suspect's possession. The 25-year-old male suspect of Claxton Bay was arrested in connection with the find. In a separate exercise, officers of the Penal Police Station acting on information received proceeded to Gopi Trace around 3 p.m. on Sunday, where they conducted a search of a bushy area. The search resulted in officers finding a sawed-off shotgun along with 2 cartridges. Investigations are ongoing. In international news, Kenya is bringing in a ban on people using plastic bags to dispose of their organic waste, burnishing the country's status as a global leader in the fight against plastic pollution. It comes 7 years after the East African nation banned single-use plastic bags. The country's environmental agency says residents and local authorities now have 3 months to prepare for the changes before they will be enforced. Well, that's it to News on the Hour on WESN. I am Sarah Ali. Thank you for watching.
Imagine a world where arguments don't exist. CICR is a full-service conflict resolution company that offers mediation training and workshops for all. In 2024, our 40-hour workshops are back, giving you all the tools you need to become a certified mediator in Trinidad and Tobago. Want to know more? Call us at 768-6778 or visit our website. Let's work together to make the world a better place.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
Let's go to the last part.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
They believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show
that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
Welcome back to AM Prime, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us once more. The Scrap Iron Dealers Association is hosting crime talks tomorrow at the Brian Lara Promenade, beginning from 3 p.m. They are suggesting that an active stance to make a difference is necessary, and there's a need to break all borders and remove all barriers. So let's get into that as I welcome President of the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association, Mr. Alan Ferguson. He's with us virtually. Hello, sir, and welcome to AM Prime.
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers, man. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning, man. It's a wonderful feeling.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferguson. Well, let me ask, why is the Scrap Iron Dealers Association taking it upon themselves to host these crime talks, these public crime talks?
Well, what will happen last year when we was going to the communities based on our shutdown, and we was giving hampers and going to different communities that were really struggling, we realized that this need help. Mm-hmm. And you see, what we have in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a way that when we want to talk about crime, we go into these crown plazas and these big hotels and these big buildings and talk about crime. So we saying, you see, listen to me, we need to change up the way we do business, because the way how we do it sometimes it's really not reaching the people, and they're not. If you don't know what is the problem, how you will solve the problem? Mm-hmm. So we decided that we will go into the communities and find out what the issues is. And when we start to do that, we recognize as, listen to me, if you don't go, you could never solve the problem. And that is why we decided that we will be launching the community part of it, because we went around all around Trinidad and Tobago discussing how we could solve the problem in the crime. But that is only one issue. That just to sensitize the people about, listen to me, crime is a serious, serious problem. We have a lot of young people that sometimes don't even understand that the government have a lot of programs that they could get themselves involved in, because they don't listen to TV, they're not watching the news. Some people not informing them in the correct way. All these things need to straighten out. So when we recognize that they have a lot of some of them too, when you come from like the Lavantail or the Beaton or the Enterprise, and you go and you ask, and you go a place to get a work, you're not getting it. Now these people is 18 and 19 and 20. Them didn't cause all this issue on themselves, you know. They meet this bad name and their communities, and now they had to feel this pressure by not getting work because where they come from. And because of that, some of them go into the life of crime. Because some of them in their head saying them don't want to give you no work, we go rob them. Some of them don't want to help me, so we go do something to them. And there's where all of this thinking, the mindset need to change. And if we who make up the community, we brothers, we sisters, we auntie, we nanty, every single body, we make up the community. It's we is the police, we is the army, we is the government, we is everything. But you know, we can't solve the problem. We know how to understand that the only way we could deal with this issue is by taking it frontwards. Go in, put it on your shoe, put it on your hat, and go into these communities, talking to these youths, talking to the young ladies. We will have people going and talking to them, trying to get the youths to understand that, listen to me, if you want to build a house, you have to work hard. You have to work hard and build your house. If you want a family, you have to know how to treat the ladies. You have to know how to treat a woman. You have to know how to understand how to take pressure sometimes when pressure came on you. All these are things that need to discuss in the communities. We can't be only mamagaing the people and doing it in such a way. We get the same result. This country is a wonderful country. This country is a beautiful country. If we don't try to save the youth, we will lose a whole generation of young people. Because of what? Because we saying let them kill out themselves, let them go in jail, and all. This is the mentality of how we think.
Let me ask you, Mr. Ferguson, because you said a lot. So just for clarification, exactly who needs to change their mentality? You referenced at the beginning of the conversation that when we have crime talks in Trinidad and Tobago, we tend to host this at fancy, illustrious events, and we don't necessarily get into the communities. And these are the individuals who are charged, who have the responsibilities to deal with the crime situation. At the same time, you referenced quite a bit the young members of communities, those who are perhaps most vulnerable to crime, or those who are most vulnerable to committing crimes. So exactly whose mindset has to change?
Well, most of the young people, because I could tell you that some of them have in their head, hey, these people and them don't want to help you, you know. These people and them, we need to rob them, you know. That's how they're talking, you know. Hey, them need to dead, you know. That's how they talk. I talking just how they're talking. I live amongst them. I could tell you, not because I'm a businessman, I move out from where it is. I around them. I could tell you how they're thinking. And we need to understand how they just think to able to solve the problem. And if we don't know how they just think, we can't go and keep no meeting in no big hall, no big hotel and all these sort of things. They're not here in there. They're not going to watch no news. And we need to understand the only way we can attack this problem is by going to them. And we mustn't be frightened and talk about the borderline and all kind of thing and be frightened to go to meet them. The thing about it is that if nobody is stand up, truthful people, honest people, people who understand the community, people, you see, all these years they continue getting those big professors and them, all the how to deal with crime, and they ain't solving the problem. So I'm saying, get the people who understand the work to go into the community to talk to them and make the effort to make the change. Get the people and them the chance who understand the community. Honest ones, eh? I ain't talking about no community leader. I ain't talking about no gangster. I'm talking about people who want honest people who want to solve the problem in Trinidad. We could sit down together and work how we could do it. We need help. We need all the people who honest to work with us to solve the problem. We need all the help we could get.
You said that you just said that you live among some of these young people. So is it that you also feel a sense of personal responsibility?
Beg pardon?
You just mentioned that you live among some of these youths in your community. You know how they act, you know how they talk. Is it that you feel a sense of personal responsibility as well to try and deal with the situation?
Well, but among them, my heart will have touch and change You will shock to know if I start to give you story. A lot of them would have changed. Some of them would have come out from prison and we would have make all the effort and make all the change. Some of them have their wife, their children, their house, their vehicles, they're working hard. They make they make big change in their life. Crime is a thing of the past for them. We would have do all the things necessary to make change in a lot of them life. I have business in the community. And I could tell you, when I speak to them, I speak for them based on if you come to me with something stolen, you can't get me buying that, you know. You can't get me doing a lot of things. I am an example of how some of them could live their life. My mother died when I was 12 years. My father died a year after. I never get locked up. I never get put in jail and say, listen to me, 3 or 4 months, not even a month. You understand what I'm saying? So I was Trinidad and Tobago national champion. I traveled the world. And I knew people from all different parts of the world. But I didn't take that to only study to make money. I take my life to say, listen to me, I need to give back to my country. And this is what I'm doing to give back to my country. I know it's a hard road ahead, but if you put down your feet and you understand that, listen to me, have a God, and God sees everything and God knows everything, you could make the change. And when you pray, take plenty time to pray. A lot of things could change. Because with all this, you need God help, you know. Because man just think different. You understand? Some people think different. So the whole thing about it is that I recognize that we need to help this country. This country in a dire need of help. And some organization or somebody needs to stand up and preach and tell people the truth. And the truth is that the only way we can solve the problem is knowing what the problem is. So we can't solve it.
So who's contributing at the talks tomorrow? At these crime talks tomorrow, Brian Laura?
Well, we have a lot of speakers. We even joined with the police. The prison commissioner. We have 2 female and 2 male coming out to speak with the youth to tell them, listen to me, jail is not a place to be. Jail is not a hotel. Jail, because you know the youth and them now, they have a thing that, hey, when I go in jail, I have a big ranker, you know. When I come out, I have a big ranker. So we have people coming out from the jail, and we want to thank the prison commissioner for giving me this opportunity to get these people to come out and talk. We have Pastor Dutton, we have Rondell Field, we have a lot of speakers. We have a former principal coming to talk about the children in the crime, the dispute with the children and them in school. We have a lot of people coming out to talk about different community projects that we could do to able to make the change. This is a serious thing. This is the time that I think some people might think is that, hey, this can't work, you know, this, you see that? But it will always have a start. Every race have a start. And we said, come and join with me, come and work with me to make this change. Somebody needs to start to do something. All of we can't sit down and say, let her kill out herself, let her get locked up, let her do all kind of things. You see Haiti, what taking part in Haiti, that could be like a tea party in Trinidad if we don't stop these youth and save them. Because a lot of them really don't care if we don't want to talk to them. They need to change their mindset. We can't only pound money in communities. We need to go and speak with them and change the way they do business and the way how they treat people. Because I remember a long time when I was small, we didn't have the opportunity to do miserableness and evilness. And always have somebody in the community to stop you from doing wrong. You understand? And that is where we need to start back.
Mr. Ferguson, what do you expect or what do you hope would be the end results of these crime talks? As you mentioned, you need a start. You need to have some level of encouragement and inspiration for young people and also some level of guidance. But I'm not being pessimistic or negative in any way. We've had crime talks before and nothing has ever really come out of it.
What type of crime talk we have? Where the crime talk was? Where the crime talk was? The crime talk was in the community. The crime talk was in Hilton and Hyatt and in these big area in city corporation and all these things. The crime talk was in the community, like where we going. The crime talk, the talk to the people to help the people are saying is that we continue doing the same thing and getting the same result. We need to change up the way how we do it. And that is where we find out, because we from the community, we understand what's going on. We understand what is the problem. We know what is the problem. We know what the youth's thinking in the mind. We know what is causing the crime. So when we understand all this, we have to find the solution and the way to stop them from doing what they're doing.
Mr. Ferguson, in your mind, what is exactly causing the crime? I know earlier on you mentioned unemployment is high, but beyond that, what is also causing the crime?
Well, time will have changed. A lot of things we would have been following. A lot of big people would have influence in the youth. Some people whose mindset is strong, they're using the youth because some of them have drugs. Some of them is the gang now. You find that it has attracted more than and think that the government will be all fine. The gang thing now is a big thing, and whilst we was leaving it alone, it was attacking the youth. It was encouraging them to be involved in crime. And you find that when you leave things alone, it comes like a monster now in front of we. And if we don't try to go in the schools and go into the community and help, we will be running into a serious problem. And I'm going to be dealing with that tomorrow. I will be dealing with what's going to happen if we don't solve the problem. Because no matter what we do, this is a small country. This is just point something. This country in the world, let me tell you something. They want to close down the prison, you know, because there's nobody going in jail. We here do not understand the seriousness in trying to, the social welfare of the country, how to deal with it, you know. And if we don't deal with the social welfare, and you go in some communities, you see people getting wet while they're sleeping, you know, rain blowing through the roof, you know. When you watch this country have oil, methanol, pitch and all kind of thing we have here. We could encourage tourists and all kind of thing if we control the crime and change the mentality of the people. Because in all different sectors, there's all kind of corruption and evilness taking place. But we need to start somewhere with ourselves. And if we start with the community where everybody is from, the doctors, the nurses, the police, the army, the government, everybody from the community, there's where we need to start from. And if we change the mentality of how we think with people, how we treat people. Let me tell you, I live in next year. Some people live in right there, they know who's a neighbor. Some of we know who's with family in Trinidad. We ain't gonna look for family. We don't do nothing again. That is good, you know. All we doing is, we have a way now, long time, the alphabet used to go A for apple, B for bat, C for cat. Now you know the alphabet going A for apple, B for bat, C for yourself. And that is how the country is. We see it for ourselves. And we need to change that way. We need to change the selfish way how we treat things.
Mr. Ferguson, we are out of time, but a lot of what you said this morning I could agree with. So on the basis of it, with the intentions in mind, thank you very much for hosting these crime talks. I do hope that you get the participation that you seek.
We just want to remind people, it's starting at 3 o'clock at Brian Lara Promenade, opposite KFC, and it goes to 7 o'clock. It have good entertainment. There's be a packed show. Good young people coming out and singing and talking. There's a young group, so we want to invite everybody. Come out tomorrow, 3 o'clock at Brian Lara Promenade.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Ferguson, and all the very best to you, and all the very best to the event tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
All the best.
For having me.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alan Ferguson, President of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, joining me on AM Prime this morning. As he mentioned, there's a need to change the mentality here in Trinidad and Tobago. These crime talks will be, of course, being hosted within communities. Mr. Ferguson arguing that it is necessary. Crime talks that we've had previously have been big symposiums in fancy settings, according to him. And he's right in many senses, although one would argue that they have had conversations, cottage meetings, that has not proven fruitful. So we do hope that Mr. Ferguson's efforts and the efforts of all involved in these crime talks actually lead to some level of change and success. That's it for AM Prime. Thanks very much to all my guests for joining me this morning on the program, and thank you, the viewer, for being a part of it, and to the amazing crew behind the scenes that make AM Prime happen and ensure that WSN is always there. It's rainy today. Bit of a change from the Saharaness, though it's still blanketing TNT. The rain is a welcome change from the scorcher, although you might get covered in mud. So just be careful. But in all that you do, just remember, maybe a safe one, a productive one. Today is a good day to have a good day, TNT. We'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.
WESN.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation. Contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.